Beyond Resilience, the Myth of Black Women's Strength. Thank you all for being here today. I'm truly honored to stand before you to share insights from my transformative conversation with Shereka Jennings, a visionary thought leader whose work is fundamentally reshaping how we understand Black women's leadership in America. Shereka isn't just researching leadership dynamics, she's dismantling outdated narratives and rebuilding frameworks that honor both excellence and humanity. Her groundbreaking advocacy has created ripples of change across corporate America, pushing institutions to move beyond performative inclusion toward authentic transformation. When I first sat down with Sharika, I expected inspiring stories of triumph against odds. What I received instead was something far more revolutionary, a complete reframing of how we understand Black women's contributions to our workplaces, communities, and economy. We've all heard the narrative, haven't we? Black women are resilient. Black women are strong. Black women persevere. These statements aren't false, they're dangerously incomplete. As Shareka explained during our conversation, this resilience narrative, while seemingly celebratory, often functions as a sophisticated form of gaslighting. It obscures a more urgent truth. Systemic change is needed beyond individual fortitude. Despite having higher labor force participation rates than many other demographic groups, Black women continue facing disproportionate job losses, persistent wage gaps, and significant barriers to advancement, even while leading in entrepreneurship and community leadership. This insight stopped me in my tracks. What if our celebration of resilience has become a convenient way to avoid addressing the systems that make such extraordinary resilience necessary in the first place? Let that sink in for a moment. The question isn't whether Black women are resilient, they undeniably are. The question is, why must they be so resilient just to achieve what others receive through standard pathways? During our conversation, Sharika shared three key insights that fundamentally reshape how we should think about this topic. First, Black women's leadership is extraordinarily powerful, yet remains chronically underrecognized. While Black women own approximately 2.4 million businesses, the highest among minority groups, they remain vastly underrepresented at the highest levels of corporate leadership. This disconnect reveals not a capability gap, but a recognition and opportunity gap. Second, economic progress for Black women doesn't happen by accident. It requires intentional advocacy and policy changes. Recent spikes in job losses among Black women highlight persistent vulnerabilities despite decades of supposed progress. And third, community driven solutions matter profoundly. When companies commit to promoting from within, or when communities rally behind entrepreneurs, sustainable pathways to success emerge that don't rely solely on external validation. These insights aren't just theoretical abstractions, they're playing out in real time across America's business landscape. Let me share some remarkable stories that Sharika highlighted during our conversation. Consider the Sunda Brown Duckett, who became one of only two Black female CEOs on the Fortune 500 list when she took the helm at TIAA, a major financial services company. This achievement marked a historic milestone in representation, but the journey there reveals important lessons. Duckett entered an industry with minimal diversity at his top ranks and a legacy culture resistant to rapid change. Rather than accepting this status quo, she prioritized internal talent development programs targeting diverse candidates and championed transparent promotion pathways within TAA. The results were transformative. Under her leadership, TAA saw improved employee engagement scores among staff from underrepresented backgrounds and increased visibility for internal talent pipelines. Before joining TIAA as CEO, Duckett led consumer banking operations at JP Morgan Chase, where she advocated fiercely for financial literacy initiatives aimed at underserved communities. Her rise has inspired other organizations to examine succession planning practices more critically, showing that internal promotions can drive meaningful diversity gains when paired with clear accountability metrics. But here's what's truly revolutionary about Duckett's approach: she didn't just climb the ladder, she redesigned it. Similarly powerful is the story of Tony Townes Whitley, who was named CEO of Science Applications International Corp. And SAIC, a Fortune 500 technology integrator, making her one of just two Black female CEOs currently leading such large U.S. corporations. She entered an industry where less than 1% of C suite executives are Black women, where previous attempts by tech firms to diversify had yielded modest results at best. Undeterred, Towns Whitley implemented robust sponsorship networks within SAIC so mid level managers could access senior mentors committed to their advancement. She also set measurable targets around supplier diversity spending. The impact was immediate and measurable. SAIC reported record engagement scores among employees identifying as minorities after her first year, and supplier contracts awarded to minority owned firms doubled over previous years. Towns Whitley's journey began in public sector IT consulting before rising through Microsoft's executive ranks, where she built coalitions across sectors focused on digital equity initiatives. She became the first African American woman named CEO in company history and expanded STEM outreach partnerships benefiting students from historically excluded backgrounds. Her example demonstrates how targeted inclusion strategies can create ripple effects across entire industries, not just inside individual companies. This spotlights actionable steps toward greater inclusion by elevating leaders who implement tangible change. But leadership isn't confined to Fortune 500 companies. As Shereka emphasized, some of the most profound leadership is happening at the grassroots level. Black women now own more than 2.4 million businesses nationwide, representing the fastest growth rate among any demographic group. Many of these enterprises were launched amid economic adversity between 2020 and 2024. These entrepreneurs frequently face limited access to capital due to discriminatory lending practices, plus heightened economic insecurity during pandemic recovery periods. Yet their response reveals a powerful model for community centered success. Many turned inward to peer mentoring circles online and local business incubators run by fellow entrepreneurs to pool resources, share knowledge about grants and funding sources, and amplify each other's brands via social media collaborations. Despite national downturns impacting employment opportunities elsewhere, these collective efforts help hundreds stay afloat, and some even scale into employer firms creating new jobs locally. This surge was driven partly by necessity, but also by long standing traditions within African American communities around mutual aid networks dating back generations. Majority minority cities like Atlanta saw double-digit increases in new business registrations led by Black female founders between 2019 and 2024. This movement has shifted narratives away from deficit thinking towards models rooted firmly in agency and offers blueprints others can adapt nationally. It exemplifies grassroots innovation amid adversity while highlighting scalable community based approaches. As Shereka noted during our conversation, the soft girl era isn't about abandoning strength, it's about redefining it. It's about creating space where Black women can thrive without constantly having to prove their resilience. When we celebrate Black women's resilience without addressing the conditions that necessitate it, we participate in a subtle form of gaslighting. We praise the symptom while ignoring the disease. True progress requires more than individual grit. It demands intentional systems change. It requires companies to examine hiring practices, promotion pathways, and compensation structures. It requires investors to confront biases in funding decisions. It requires all of us to question narratives that frame extraordinary effort as normal expectation. As Sharika powerfully stated, resilience without recognition leads to resignation. Recognition without resources leads to resentment. But resilience plus recognition plus resources, that leads to revolution. This revolution isn't just for Black women, though they certainly deserve its fruits. It's for all of us who believe in workplace and communities where success doesn't depend on superhuman effort from some while coming easily to others. So, where do we go from here? What actions can we take today that will reshape tomorrow? First, examine the language you use. When you praise someone's resilience, ask yourself, am I celebrating their strength? Or am I normalizing systems that shouldn't require such strength in the first place? Second, look at your sphere of influence. Whether you're a hiring manager, an investor, a mentor, or a colleague, how are you distributing opportunity, resources, and recognition? Are you perpetuating patterns or disrupting them? Third, amplify voices that challenge comfortable narratives. Support Black women's leadership, not just with words, but with tangible resources, opportunities, and platforms. The stories of Thasunda Brown Duckett, Tony Towns Whitley, and countless Black women entrepreneurs across America show us what's possible when opportunity meets preparation. They show us that leadership takes many forms, that success has many paths, and that systems can change when we demand it. I stand before you today, not just to share these insights, but to challenge you, to challenge us all, to move beyond celebration into action, to stop praising resilience while preserving the systems that make it necessary, to create workplaces and communities where Black women's brilliance is not just recognized, but rewarded, where their leadership is not just celebrated, but supported. Because a world that requires extraordinary resilience from some while offering easy paths to others isn't just unfair, it's unsustainable. It's a world that wastes potential, stifles innovation, and diminishes us all. The revolution Sharika speaks of isn't coming, it's here, in this room, in our choices, in our courage to confront uncomfortable truths and create new realities. Will you join it? Thank you.